Okay, let's get right into this. Welcome to this explainer, where we're unpacking the absolute fallout from what was, honestly, a monumental World Cup. After 6 weeks of just relentless football, Spain was crowned champion once again. But, while the trophy's been lifted and the confetti has all been swept away, the debates in the studios and among the pundits are really just reaching a fever pitch. Today, we're taking the hard data and that fiery post-tournament punditry to break down exactly what happened, who really stood out, and why the race for the ultimate individual prizes is causing such a massive stir right now.
So here is our game plan for today. We're going to start with 1, the World Cup by numbers, followed by 2, attacking stats and golden boots, and 3, the golden ball debate. Then we'll pivot to 4, youth and golden gloves, unpack 5, the Ballon d'Or controversy, and finally wrap up with 6, team of the tournament.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the World Cup by numbers.
Before we even touch on individual brilliance, we really need to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the battlefield these players were operating on. 104. That is the number of games played over this massive 6-week tournament. We saw 48 different teams battle it out, traveling across the globe, dealing with crazy fatigue, intense pressure, and massive expectations, all to reach the ultimate conclusion. It was literally a marathon of a tournament, which honestly makes the stamina and the consistency of the eventual champions all the more impressive. Now, what's genuinely wild is the single massive digit right here, 1. Spain conceded only one single goal throughout the entire tournament. To put that into perspective, they actually matched Colombia's defensive record of 1 goal conceded. But here is the kicker. Colombia was knocked out in the last 16. That means Spain played significantly more games and still managed to keep the door totally bolted shut all the way to lifting the trophy. It was an absolute masterclass in defensive resilience. Moving right along to Section 2, attacking stats and golden boots. Because while defenses win tournaments, it's the attackers that get us out of our seats, right? And the sheer firepower we witnessed was incredible. Kylian Mbappe actually made history. For the first time since way back in 1970, a player scored double figures at the tournament, with Mbappe hitting an unbelievable 10 goals. In doing so, he just edged out Lionel Messi, who finished with a highly respectable 8 goals himself. That achievement firmly cemented the French striker into the history books as the first player to ever win the Golden Boot award twice. But French dominance wasn't just about putting the ball in the net, it was about creating the chances too. Michael Olise topped the playmaker charts with a phenomenal 7 assists. Just to show you how far ahead of the pack he was, consider that Messi was stuck in a group of about 5 players sitting on 4 assists. Olise was just operating on a completely different level of creativity. Yet, remarkably, despite Mbappe's 10 goals and Olise's 7 assists, neither of them could find a way past that Spanish defensive wall we were just talking about.
Section 3, the golden ball debate.
All right, this is where we transition from cold, hard numbers into the highly subjective and honestly pretty heated debates over who was truly the most valuable player of the tournament. The official award went to Spain's Rodri, and objectively, the data makes a towering case for him. I mean, look at these numbers. He made 799 passes across his 8 matches. That is an average of roughly 100 passes per game, essentially acting as the heartbeat of the entire Spanish team. But he wasn't just passing, he was running. He covered over 96,000 meters. That's nearly 6,000 meters further than the second hardest worker in the entire tournament, Argentina's Alexis McAllister. Rodri dictated the tempo, managed the players around him, and even directed the team's pressing triggers. However, one pundit came out swinging against this award, and it framed a really fascinating debate between a player's value to a system versus a player's ability to solo carry a team. The argument goes like this. As brilliant as Rodri's stats are, Spain is a well-oiled machine that could arguably still win without him. They pointed to times in the Euros when Zubimendi stepped in seamlessly. On the flip side, the pundit argued that Lionel Messi provided the actual moments, and that without Messi's magic, a very average Argentina team wouldn't have just failed to win their games, they wouldn't have even made it to the final in the first place. So it's the ultimate debate, the engine of a great team versus the absolute savior of an average one.
Section 4, youth and golden gloves. Pivoting briefly to the guys at the back, the Golden Glove went to Spain's Unai Simón. What's fascinating about this is the pre-tournament narrative. Many fans and analysts were actually clamoring for David Raya to start as the number 1, but Simon completely silenced the critics by conceding only that single goal. And beyond just his elite shot stopping, pundits were quick to note that it was his exceptional sweeper-keeper play that really stood out. Whenever the defense was beaten, Simon was just there, reading the game perfectly and cleaning up the danger.
And we definitely can't gloss over Pau Cubarsí, who took home the Young Player of the Tournament award. At just 19 years old, he played with the calm, collected maturity of a guy who's been doing this for a decade. Pundits attribute this remarkable poise straight back to his club, Barcelona, who trusted him with crucial first-team minutes when he was just 17. It's a pretty solid testament to the old saying, if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Section 5, the Ballon d'Or controversy. So how do all these individual 4-week tournament awards actually translate to the grandest stage of them all? Well, because Spain has now secured back-to-back major tournaments, the current betting odds for the Ballon d'Or are heavily skewed towards Spanish players. You've got Rodri sitting as a joint favorite at 3-1 alongside his teammate Lamine Yamal, while Harry Kane trails behind them at 5-1. The momentum of the World Cup has heavily influenced these odds.
Well, when presented with these odds, one pundit's reaction was, let's say, completely unfiltered. Acting as an impartial referee for a second here, let me break down their fiery stance. The pundit claimed these odds were, quite frankly, a joke. Their core argument was that Lamine Yamal actually had a rather average tournament overall, specifically noting a lack of goals and assists. And that while Rodri undeniably had a great World Cup, he spent a massive chunk of his club year plagued by injuries. To this pundit, using a short summer tournament to justify these odds completely overlooks the reality of the past 12 months. And the crux of that argument comes down to this number, 73. That is the number of goals Harry Kane scored across all competitions this season. The pundit called this output straight up outrageous, pointing out that historically, perhaps only Messi has posted better numbers in a single year. To this analyst, 73 goals means there shouldn't even be a debate about who wins the award. If Kane doesn't win it after a season like this, the pundit argues he literally never will. What this really exposes is a massive philosophical divide in how we actually value the Ballon d'Or. Is it about full season form or the major tournament bump? The pundit passionately argued that the award is meant to reflect the course of an entire season, from start to finish. If the World Cup just didn't happen this year, Kane's 73 goals would make him the absolute undisputed winner. Therefore, a 4-week international tournament shouldn't just act as the ultimate wildcard to overrule an entire year of domestic club dominance, especially for players who struggled with injuries or club form before the summer even began.
Which brings us to Section 6, Team of the Tournament.
Let's see how all this highly subjective punditry actually builds into a starting 11. Looking at the attacking selections, it's a completely star-studded lineup. You've got Mbappe and the magician Messi, obviously. You have Elise purely for those 7 assists. Jude Bellingham makes it in, largely for an outrageously confident goal against France where he essentially told the defender to sit down before scoring. Though the pundit did note Bellingham still needs to learn how to dictate games more as a traditional number 8. And then, maybe surprisingly, Erling Haaland is included for carrying his team and scoring massively important goals in his first World Cup. But the elephant in the room, the pundit completely excluded Harry Kane, arguing that despite the 73-goal season, Kane failed to show up in the big pressure cooker moments of this specific tournament, like the game against Argentina.
At the back, the picks are just as fascinating. The pundit practically selected the entire Spanish defense and Unai Simon on principle alone. Rodri, of course, angers the midfield, but they also threw in a total wildcard, the viral goalkeeper Viña. Why? Because Viña was the only keeper to successfully shut out Spain in the entire tournament. It created this massive viral moment, especially combined with the emotional backstory of his mother being unable to get a visa to watch his games. That moment skyrocketed his social media following from 50,000 to an unbelievable 29 million followers. It just goes to show that team of the tournament picks are always this wild mix of hard defensive data and those unforgettable human moments.
Which really leaves us with the core tension of this entire explainer. We've seen the incredible data from a grueling 104-game tournament. We've seen Spain's utter dominance and Mbappe's record-breaking boots. But when the dust finally settles and we look to crown the single best player in the world, the debate remains completely unresolved. So I'm going to leave you with this to ponder. Does a spectacular 4-week tournament on the world's biggest stage truly outweigh an historic, grueling 73-goal season? Let that sink in and keep learning.